In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories.
Hey! It's Warhorse, and you need to shut your mouth, open your eyes, and clean out your ears, because it's time to listen to the Raw and Order podcast. That's right, they're bringing you the best in all that meaty podcasty goodness in one, what is it, an hour? Two? Who cares? Who gives a shit? You need to listen to it right now, or else Warhorse is gonna, roll your ass!
Welcome to another episode of Raw and Order, the Wrestling Booking Unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet that, live streamed on Twitch during Royal Rumble yesterday. I got none. I am your host, Detective Mark Smarks, and I am joined, as always, by one of my partners in crime fighting, currently, JLB from up north. Sorry, I almost called you a detective. You're an RCMP.
Well, they're pretty big here in Canada. They are detectives in Canada, so,
Are they called detectives?
I'm sure there's a word for them.
Technically a rank for them?
They're the highest. They're like the FBI. Are FBI agents called detectives?
No, they're called agents. Sometimes special agent.
I'm sure we have like a special agent RCMP thing. I don't know. I'm a horrible cop.
We may or may not be joined by DA Fabe. He had a really busy weekend with some personal stuff going on. He did have to binge Royal Rumble today. He wasn't able to watch it live last night. Lucky dog. Because today he was able to fast forward through the shitty parts.
So the whole pay-per-view?
Yeah, most of the pay-per-view. I mean, there was a lot of shitty parts. We can get into talking about that here, because that's what this podcast is going to be, talking about mostly. We'll probably bring up some other things from the week in wrestling, because there were some fun things that happened this week in wrestling, and I don't want to overlook those. But the big thing we're talking about is Royal Rumble 2022.
Yeah.
Which, if you tuned in, I live streamed, reacted to the whole thing from kickoff show through to the end. I do not know why I did the kickoff show, because in the end, there wasn't even a single match on the kickoff show.
Yeah. Really weird. What's the point of having a kickoff show?
Just fucking an hour of talking heads. If I wanted to watch an hour of talking heads, talk professional wrestling, I would watch the Raw and Order Wrestling Podcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.
That's valid, but we're not an hour, so then they'd miss some of the Rumble. And
well, no, they'd be happy to have missed some of the Rumble. That's one thing, but
that's true. Yeah, that's valid.
But anyway, so we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about the ups and the downs of the Royal Rumble. Before we get into that, I'd like to take this moment to always remind people Raw and Order is part of the Tatnisco Podcast Network. You can head down to the doobly-doos and catch the link to tatnisco.com. Once the podcast is over, click that link. Go to visit tatnisco.com, see the other shows in the network. Let them know that we sent you. There's also links to all sorts of ways to support us, including our Patreon and our shop, our merch, right? rawandorderwbu.myspreadshop.com, or just go down to the doobly-doos and click the link. Because that's a great way. You can get Piss Ain't Podcast hat, or Raw and Order shirt, or Piss Ain't Podcast shirt, or Raw and Order hat, or Sasha Bear shirt, or we still haven't gotten a cease and desist yet on that. Although now I want to do one with Sailor Moon and give her blue hair, and just put it out as Sasha Moon. And see how long it takes us to get a cease and desist on that one.
Probably pretty quick. You're messing around with two behemoths of companies there.
I would be indeed. There's no such thing as bad publicity, though.
It's valid.
But before we talk Royal Rumble, let's take some time to cleanse the palate of the Royal Rumble and talk about some good things in wrestling, or at least things that weren't shit. And the number one thing that I want to talk about was fucking AEW Dynamite.
Even Rampage was pretty stellar.
Rampage was pretty good too, but Dynamite itself, I want to take a moment to talk about how fucking awesome Dynamite was. Especially looking back on it after watching Royal Rumble and thinking that AEW put together a 2-hour show that was better from beginning to end than one of the big 4 pay-per-views for WWE for the year, right? And yeah, it wasn't a pay-per-view and it didn't have the big match Royal Rumble or things like that. I get it. Those are all valid, right? But what it did have was one of the best one-on-one ladder matches I've ever seen. I'm not saying the best, but one of the best. It's definitely in the conversation, featuring some of the best spots I've ever seen in a ladder match. That
ladder whiplash is still killing me though.
Oh, the ladder whiplash, but that cutter, that springboard cutter, that's going to be up there in highlight reels with the edge spear off the top of the ladder. It's going to be up there, right?
Oh, for sure.
Sure. And the sad thing is that almost got upstaged by the crossroads off the top of the ladder. Almost got upstaged by the vertical suplex off the top of the ladder.
Yeah, that was nuts. Yep.
Nuts. Just insane shitting in that spot. And then at the end of the thing, there was the lights out match. And I have issues with the lights out nature of it, if only because it did not live up to the lights outedness of it. Lights out is supposed to be unsanctioned, and the reason it's supposed to be unsanctioned is it's supposed to be this is too dangerous for us to sanction. And they really didn't do too much too dangerous, especially considering just a few weeks prior we had a sanctioned tag match between women that was bloody as all fuck, right?
Nope.
But I'm going to get past my nitpickiness of it being an unsanctioned match and not really deserving to be an unsanctioned match, and still point out that it was a fucking awesome match, right?
Very entertaining.
My problem is it could have been a lights-on hardcore match and been just fine, right? It didn't need to be called unsanctioned because it didn't warrant the unsanctioned name. But it still featured great spots back and forth, featured the debut of Danhausen, which had me absolutely marking out at home. In hindsight, I'm wishing I had live streamed reactions to Dynamite instead of Royal Rumble. It would have been a lot more entertaining.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But regardless, that's neither here nor there. It was just a great show. And then Rampage, which of course was recorded right afterwards, at the same arena and everything, was still freaking good too. Featured great matches. I really
liked even it's a match that's not really getting talked about much, but even the FTR.
FTR, Brock Anderson and Lee Moriarty.
I don't know.
No, Lee Johnson.
Lee Johnson. Okay.
Yeah. Too many Lees. That was a great match, and it featured some fun, like the whole gimmick that I think it's Dax Harwood calls Arn Anderson daddy, as if he's actually the spiritual son of Arn Anderson,
right?
More so than Brock Anderson is the actual son of Arn Anderson. Right. Things like that. There were a lot of fun things there. I mean, it went the way it was supposed to. The spot, the pre-recorded backstage thing with House of Black that's all we were ever wanting from Malachi Black when he was Aleister Black in WWE. Just let him be dark and broody and deliver these promos, and don't sit him in a room and ask for someone to pick a fight with me. Just let him be the weird evil guy. I don't know. Anyways, so
At
many
the
great
same
things
time, it's getting kind of boring though. Like at the end of the day,
Well,
bro.
the thing is, it livened it up by adding Brody King to it.
Right.
But that's the thing is, that's why the pick a fight with me promos got tiring, is because he did it for 8 fucking months without anyone picking a fight with him. And here they
Isn't it knock on my door or something?
Yeah,
Or don't
knock on my door and pick a fight with me.
Right.
But no one ever did it. They never went anywhere with that, really. Where they're already going some places. They've already added another member to House of Black. I 100% expect, let's use that phrase, 100% expect that Julia Hart is going to end up being a member of the House of Black.
I mean, she's certainly not doing anything with the Varsity Blondes.
Varsity Blondes. Well, they're telling the storyline ever since she got the black mist spit in her eyes. She started wearing darker colors. She started being a little bit more vindictive, but also a little bit more sympathetic to Malachi Black. Like to call off the other members of the group, Varsity Blondes. So I anticipate that she's going to end up joining, but there's all sorts of stuff. I also think, in the end, we're now going to have Pac and Lucha Brothers Death Triangle versus House of Black at some point. So there's going to be another member at some point to help offset Death Triangle, the 3 members there. And that's going to be just an absolute fire match.
Isn't the Lucha Brothers with Andrade right now, or no?
No, they're not 100%. They're kind of in a weird thing.
They're in the AHFO, no? Or no?
No, they weren't in the HFO.
There was HFO.
there was a thing, but no, the tag team in the HFO right now is Private Party. They were with Eddie Kingston for a while when he was feuding kind of with the HFO.
Right. Okay.
And then they went back and forth, but then Pac returned and Pac said, no, they're with me again. And then Pac left and everything. So Death Triangle is still where it is. I anticipate, just bringing up the HFO angle, I anticipate that what's going to happen here in the near future is the H part of it's going to be pushed out of the HFO, and it's going to be Andrade Incorporated or something like that. I don't know. And that's where they're leading with this, because I expect the H in HFO is going to soon be busy in the tag division himself.
You think Hardy's coming? Was there rumors with that?
I think it's a foregone conclusion, to be perfectly honest. We know Jeff Hardy got approached to come back to WWE and turned them down. They even offered him a Hall of Fame spot, said, we'll put you in this year if you come back. He said nope. He also then said, and also give me the results to my blood test, my drug test, because I want to show the world that it was clean. And that you guys let me go for no reason.
So could he technically sue now?
Probably not. There's probably a clause in his contract. I mean, in the end, their contract specifically, it gives all the power to WWE. WWE can cut them for almost any reason, but they can't leave for any reason. You know what I mean?
That's messed up.
And so it's one of the many ways their independent contractor contract is unfair to themselves. But anyways, and so I just think it's a foregone conclusion. I think that's why they're doing this. They're going to edge him out of this big money Matt character. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to give broken Matt Hardy another go. But this time bringing in Brother Nero and having it be the broken.
Right. And they'll probably do a lot more compound stuff and Hardy compound stuff.
And here's the deal is, in the end, the biggest reason broken Matt Hardy didn't work in AEW was timing, because he came in right at the beginning of the empty arena era. Right. And the broken character kind of feeds off of the audience buying into and chanting delete with him and all of that stuff. So, but anyways, so Dynamite was awesome. Rampage was good. Impact Wrestling was entertaining.
Well, look, I mean, even Raw and SmackDown didn't necessarily have any bad segments per se. You had Lashley and Brock. That was fun. That was whatever. The matches are just always generally garbage. I could only think of maybe KO and Priest was a halfway decent match, but match wise, complete trash. But segment wise, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
The spelling bee was fun. Was that this week?
The spelling bee was this week. I'm an odd man out. I was not entertained by the spelling bee segment, but I was not entertained much because I'm tired of that type of segment. WWE goes to that type of segment way too often. Whether we're looking at being a talk show segment like Moment of Bliss or Miz TV or Cutting Edge or whatever. Yeah, the KO show or whatever. They go to a lot of those things, and then they go to these dumb non-wrestling comedy segments, right? And they bore me, sometimes. But they bored me even more in this week, where I mean that was building a feud that didn't have a payoff this week, right?
Which one?
Riddle and RK Bro versus.
The Royal Rumble just completely messed everything up.
Well, the thing is, the Royal Rumble, we already knew there wasn't going to be a RK Bro versus American Alpha or whatever they're called.
But they were also in the tag in the Rumble itself, so you could have created a story. You could have,
but in the end, that sort of segment, it's designed to lead towards a match against each other. And because we already knew there wasn't going to be a tag match between them, it made sense to do that segment right now. Now, what instead they should have done, if anything, is just do some other segment there, not even necessarily worry about RK Bro, and then have the feud play out in the Rumble with Alpha Academy eliminating Randy Orton or whatever, and leading up to, then they start building towards Elimination Chamber, a match between them or something. But we'll get to the Royal Rumble, all of the matches on that thing, because here's the deal. There were 6 matches in the Royal Rumble, two of course Royal Rumble matches, and then 4 other matches. And I think that down the line, it can be argued that the wrong person won every match. I'm not 100% on one of them. One of them, I think the right person won. One of them, I think the right person technically won, but didn't really win.
I just think I don't necessarily know or would say the wrong people won. For the Rumbles, yeah. But for the other matches, I would just more say how it was done.
I 100% say the wrong people won both the Rumble matches.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind, the wrong people won those. But, I think Becky Lynch defeating Doudrop was probably the right way to go. Although, if you're really trying to build Doudrop up...
Well, you shouldn't have given her... You shouldn't, unless you make her win the Rumble and she comes back after Becky or something. You know what I mean?
Or you have Becky Lynch win by cheating, because she is the heel in this. So you have her ref distraction, hits Doudrop with the belt or something. Ref comes back, hit the manhandle slam and pin her, and so you win. That allows Doudrop to lose, but not lose much. Anyways, I personally thought the Edge and Beth Phoenix and Miz and Maurice, that the right people won that match. But mostly because I just want that feud to be over. And the only way that feud close to being over is Edge and Beth winning and cementing themselves as the top couple. And then Miz and Maurice can go off and do whatever, and Edge and Beth can do whatever. I'm not entirely sure Beth is planned to be back for good.
Right.
She might be. I don't know. I'm pretty certain Maurice is not planned to be back for good. She did not look like she had dedicated herself to wrestling again.
She did look good, though. She still looked pretty good in the ring for what she did.
She's better than a couple of the Royal Rumble entrants, but
that's
but no, she just didn't look like she was in ring shape. I'm not talking about weight or fitness. I'm talking about execution.
Well, here's my theory on that, though. I honest to God think they wanted to do this match for Mania, but they were kind of testing the waters to see how the fans were reacting and so on. And they realized, this is really not going to be a good match for Mania. The fans don't necessarily care, kind of thing. Fine. So they did it for Rumble, get it out of the way.
But I think that also implies, just by that Maurice wasn't intending on being back full time. She was coming back. That the big thing with this is just to build her up again, so that when season whatever of Ms. and Mrs. comes out, they can say
it's a very entertaining show. They're really entertaining on that reality show.
They're right.
Hey,
I mean, in fairness, I don't like Roads to the Top either. I'm not a fan of that style of reality show.
I haven't even watched it. I can't.
That's not the type of reality show that I'll watch. So I care about Ms. and Mrs. I don't care about Roads to the Top. I don't care about Keeping Up with the Kardashians or fucking whatever the Bella Twins ones was.
Okay.
I don't fucking care about them. Like, that's not what I watch TV for. But anyways, so we'll to the Royal Rumble here. I'm just gonna assume that DA Fabe is crashed out again. He had a busy weekend trying to cram in the Royal Rumble today. Cut into his recovery time from the busy personal weekend. So
that's it.
So we talked about it a little bit at the end of the stream, but after a night to ruminate or stew in our juices, we'll see how we feel. So the night started off, once again, kickoff show, had no actual wrestling in it, so it's fucking worthless.
And you streamed the whole thing.
I streamed the whole thing. It also meant that fucking Pete Rosenberg and Jerry the King Lawler were on my screen for the better part of an hour with no breaks.
I mean, who's that new guy? Bradshaw's no longer there. There's like another guy that's there.
Well, that guy, God, what's his name? Fucking something Patrick. Sean Patrick. He's WWE's new backstage interviewer. You see him occasionally on Raw and SmackDown interviewing someone backstage. And so I don't think he's a permanent member of the pre-show panel. I think this was more filling in because for whatever reason they couldn't have Bradshaw there, which is fine. I hate Bradshaw too, so
yeah.
I'm fine with not having any of them in there. So
Royal Rumble starts off nicely with Roman and Seth.
Yeah, Roman and Seth, and the start of it was nice. So, but we'll kind of get to that because I have a feeling that it'll fit in one of our categories. To remind people, when we do our breakdown of pay-per-views, we don't do it in a, here's the match that happened, let's talk about this match. Here's the match that happened next, let's talk about what happened in that. We do it kind of like an awards show. So we're going to start off with worst match of the night. Now, there are 6 total matches. And I think you can make a solid argument for 3 of them.
5 of them.
5 of them, maybe. 4 of them being worst of the night. I The Seth versus Roman, I don't think is in the worst of the night category. It might be in the best of the night category, except for the ending, but we'll get to that. Neither of the Royal Rumbles are best of the night. I don't know if they're worst of the night either. I don't know. To me, probably worst of the night was the Edge and Beth versus Miz and Maurice. Mostly because I just didn't care. It was done.
Yeah, I mean, and that I get. At the same time, I feel like I'm gonna give it to the Women's Rumble.
You think the Women's Rumble was worse of the night?
I feel like the Women's Rumble was the worst of the night just because we got a whole bunch of legends and just they did nothing with nothing. They had Sasha lose so early. They had Ivory show up, but Ivory was RTC Ivory and like whatever, maybe she wasn't fit to wrestle or something and they couldn't really do anything with her. But then they had a lot of like stupid people in the Rumble.
Yeah. So
that just didn't make any sense.
I will say this about Ivory.
She's old.
She's fucking 60, right?
Okay, yeah.
And here's the deal. You look at her last night, you wouldn't have guessed 60. You might not even have guessed 50. She looked good for a 60-year-old. You know, she looked really good. But again, she is 60 and probably wasn't really keen on taking huge bumps. So I get that.
Well, and does she even really work out as much as she used to? Maybe not. You know what I mean? Like,
so, well, since it's your vote for worst of the night, let's talk a little bit about that match. So, we'll go through the entrance. We're not going to go one by one on who eliminated who and how many eliminations and how long they were in there for all of them. But it started off with Sasha Banks and Melina.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, Sasha looked good. My problem with that was I don't think it did any favors to Melina. Specifically being put in there next to Sasha Banks. Because Melina's whole thing was that she was fitness and she was hot and good looking and she was basically pre women's revolution, wrestler, right? And then you put her next to Sasha Banks, who arguably one of the greatest women's wrestlers in the world. Also in stupid good shape, stupid good physical condition. And it really kind of showed there, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think it did any favors to Melina. And in the end,
I feel like Melina is also pretty much older too, though.
I don't know exactly. I mean, she's definitely older than Sasha. There's no doubt about that. But let me see how old she is. She is 42.
40. Okay.
But
she also hasn't been in the ring for a hot minute either, right?
Yeah. But that's my point is that I don't think it did her any favors. And so I think it would have been better to start off with someone who was an active wrestler currently against Sasha, and then have Melina come in after there were a couple current wrestlers in the ring to help cover for any deficiencies that she had.
Right.
If Melina was in there after Tamina and Aaliyah were in, I don't think it would have looked so bad for her, but she punked out after 53 seconds, right?
Right. I was like, okay, waste of an entrant.
I mean, it just left Sasha standing in the ring waiting for the next entrance.
Right.
So Melina was 2. Tamina, then Kelly. Why we keep giving her a call for Royal Rumbles, I'll never know. Especially
she was one of the ones who posted it on Instagram, right? That she was there. So,
well, especially considering the people that didn't show up. or the options that they could have had. So
Right.
then we had Aaliyah, then Liv Morgan, Queen Zelina, Bianca Belair, Dana Brooke, then Michelle McCool, Sonya Deville.
Explains why Taker was there.
Yeah. Sonya Deville came out with her jacket on, which she explained again on the pre-show. When my jacket's on, I'm an official. When my jacket comes off, then I'm a wrestler. So she came out with her jacket on and sat down at ringside at announce, and just hung out there until she spotted an opportunity to go in. Natalia was next, then Cameron, former Funkadactyl, whatever they called him. And that's when Sonya Deville decided to take a shot, because she realized that Cameron used to be tag team partners with Naomi. And she's got the whole feud going on with Naomi.
Right.
So there she goes in and eliminates Cameron and thinks, oh, that's great. And then Naomi comes out and just, oh, okay, you get to go, Sonya. So, like, that could have been so much more.
Right.
I mean, they literally could have had this whole thing where Sonya came in, eliminated Cameron, then rolls out under the ring, puts her jacket back on, goes, sits back down at announce table.
Right.
And plays chicken shit for a little bit longer. And then Naomi comes out like 4 or 5 later, and then grabs her and pulls her jacket off and throws her in the ring, or something like that. But they didn't. Then Carmella, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. Here's where Ivory comes out and barely gets in the ring. It was so much like I looked away to check the chat on Twitch, and then I looked back and she's being eliminated, and I never actually saw her get in the ring. So I even said in the Twitch stream, did she even get in the ring? I didn't see her get in the ring. The official time that I found is 25 seconds for her. So yeah.
Damn, that even still feels kind of long.
Yeah.
So,
then we had Brie Bella come in. And
that
I
was
said
probably one of the only good storytelling they did there in this Women's Royal Rumble.
They did.
With the whole Brie Bella and Nikki Bella, and they did it reverse of she took her twin out, and now the other one took her out. And
they gave Brie Bella 19 minutes in the Rumble, which was, and I said this on Twitch, and I'll probably get hate even repeating it. I don't think the Bellas were as bad as people like to give them crap for. Right. I do think Brie was the better of the two Bellas. In my opinion, at least. Nikki got more publicity, probably because Nikki got implants. So that plays into it, I think. But, and Nikki was also, they had the storybook romance of Nikki and John Cena. Who was their biggest star and all of that. I get it and everything, but in the end, I didn't hate seeing Brie Bella. And frankly, I didn't hate seeing Brie Bella mostly because we'd already seen so many shittier ones come in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like fucking Kelly. I'm like, yeah, okay, Brie Bella. That's right. Then we had Mickie James coming in for wrestling for Impact Wrestling. She wore the title to the ring. And I'm a little disappointed with this because
they completely misused her, like, totally.
Well, there's so much they could have done with it, and I predicted it on the pre-show that here's what, if they were smart, they should have done. They should have got Deonna Purrazzo to show up.
She would have never showed up.
Here's the deal: dollar bills and a promise of something. And this is Deonna Purrazzo shows up, eliminates Mickie James to set up the feud for the Impact title, right? Because Deonna Purrazzo is Impact's version of a belt collector right now.
Right.
She has the NWA women's title, I believe, and the AAA women's title right now. And so she wants that Knockouts title back.
Right.
So this is where, they've been making a big deal, especially the WWE fans have been making a big deal about, oh, look, the Impact and WWE are working together. It's the forbidden door is open for them, and look at how much more they're doing for Impact than AEW did. Which A, I disagree with, but that's beside the point. But B, this shows how little they're doing for Impact, right? They had Impact. They had one singular Impact wrestler show up on the entire pay-per-view. They allowed her to eliminate one person, and then they fucked her out of the match. And said,
she got eliminated by like a nobody too, I believe.
Michelle McCool.
A nobody.
Anyways, but then I was like, oh, Mickie James, maybe they'll do something fun. Maybe next will be someone. No, next was fucking Alicia Fox.
She was pretty good in the ring, though. No, not a fan.
I didn't think so, but
okay.
I mean, she was only in the ring for 6 minutes.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Damn.
and I mean, the old upside is she apparently was sober, so that's good. Then they had Nikki ASH. They did tell a couple little storylines with Nikki ASH. First with her going after Rhea Ripley. And later when Molly Holly came in, we'll get to that. Going after Molly Holly and eliminating her because there can only be one superhero.
That's a valid point.
And they're really going to have to get around to changing that H to a V in her name pretty soon here because she's basically a supervillain. Anyways,
right.
Then Summer Rae, which we knew was going to happen. We're not happy about it, but we knew it was going to happen. Then Nikki Bella showed up. And then, like you said, they had some fun things where the Bella twins worked together. Mm-hmm. But then in kind of a flashback to a previous Royal Rumble that they were in, they eliminated each other, sort of a thing.
Right.
Specifically, Brie Bella turned on Nikki Bella and eliminated her, which Nikki Bella had eliminated Brie Bella in a previous. Anyways.
Yeah.
But so, then you had Sarah Logan come in. That was probably the only true surprise for me. Right. And I say that because I'd heard rumors that she was in St. Louis, but she's been at almost every AEW major show to support Ruby. So I wrote it off more like she was there to support Liv because they've made it clear that Liv and Sarah Logan and I mean the whole Riot Squad were really clearly tight in real life, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised that she showed up. More surprised that they had her out of there in 40 seconds.
Yeah, they missed a complete opportunity with that whole thing. Could have made a big more like reminiscence of
Riot Squad all together again.
Riot Squad all together again. But no, I'm like, what? What's the point? Yeah. Like there was a lot of stuff they could have done just to told little stories and would have gave us a little bit of nostalgia, but they just didn't do it. And I was like, this is just the theme of the pay-per-view. You just are gonna give us a dream match, but then you don't fulfill the dream match stuff.
I said last night the word of the night for Royal Rumble was unfulfilling.
Yep.
Almost everything just came off as unfulfilling. So Sarah Logan, what it came down to for me when she came into the ring, I could tell this is a one-off for her one way or another.
Right, for sure.
She was very obviously not in like full-time return ring shape.
Right.
She was in mom shape, and that's fine because being mom's a full-time job, and that's what she's been doing, and more power to her. but I could tell when she hit the ring that she really hadn't been hitting the ropes much, you know.
Right.
But still. Then we had Lita, and then the aforementioned Molly Holly, who showed up and got beat up by Nikki ASH and eliminated in 20 seconds. And then we had Ronda Rousey.
Oh, now you're talking about my generation.
What?
Yeah.
And as soon as Ronda Rousey officially hit, I was already aware of the rumors and the reports and all of this stuff. Meltzer saying what was intended to go down for WrestleMania, all of this stuff. I was well aware of it. I wanted to live in denial, but as soon as Ronda Rousey's music hit and she came out, I knew the winner was in the ring.
Right.
And
I had hopes,
it's
though,
so
man.
wrong.
I had hopes. I was like, oh, okay. And then when we hit 30 with Sonya, I just not Sonya, Shayna, I had hopes. I'm like, oh, you know what, man? Switch this up around. Give me a Shayna versus Rousey, and I'm down. Let's do this.
Well, here's the deal. You can sell Charlotte versus Ronda without Ronda winning the Royal Rumble, right?
Right. Absolutely, you can.
Because of their history. But you can easily add to it by having Charlotte or Ronda eliminate the other. Period. Right?
Which happened anyways.
And then so Ronda eliminates Charlotte. Now on SmackDown, you have Charlotte come out and be like, fucking Ronda Rousey comes out and steals my thunder and knocks me out of what was my match to win. So now I want Ronda. Boom. Now you got it. Story done. Yeah. And you didn't have to have Ronda Rousey win.
Right.
You could have given it to Shayna Baszler, who came out 30.
Same thing with the men's rumble.
Mm-hmm. Shotzi was number 29. And this just shows how poorly they've used Shotzi. Both of us didn't actually remember Shotzi was still part of WWE. We both were like, didn't she get fired?
Right.
Didn't she get fired? The answer is no. Tegan got fired. Shotzi's just been fucking sitting in catering because they don't have anything for her.
Yeah, because she was actually on the SmackDown prior, which I guess I totally missed anyways. And I was like, oh, so she's not fired. Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
And then like we said, Shayna number 30. There were a few good, like, Shayna, Ronda Rousey, like, hey, we're friends moments, but we're not teammates sort of a thing. I don't know. But like you said, that to me would have been a more entertaining feud than Ronda versus Charlotte and Ronda versus Shayna, right? Right. But more specifically, I fucking want Shayna to have won. I think Shayna was the number one who should have won this match.
For sure. And it would have been perfect timing. No one would have seen it coming because what has Shayna done recently? You know what I mean? Like, they just missed the opportunity.
If I were to list my top 5 choices for who I think should have won it, Shayna would have been number 1. I think Liv Morgan maybe number 2. Maybe, right? To tell that story for a little bit longer. I think Sasha definitely should have been high on the list to win it. They only gave her less than 10 minutes, which I don't know. It could be that she, being fresh back, felt like she wasn't ready to be back full time. I don't know, right? But fuck, I would have been happier to see Carmella win than fucking Ronda.
Right.
Snore. Anyways. So I don't necessarily disagree with that as a potential worst match of the night. To me, just like Edge and Beth versus Miz and Maurice, like you said, it was a match that no one cared about, myself included. So I don't know. It ended the way it should have. Edge and Beth won. Miz and Maurice can go off and do their reality show or whatever, and I don't care. So. Moving on to most predictable moment. Now, I think we're going to 100% agree what ended up being the most predictable moment. And that is as soon as we saw Roman Reigns come in and attack Brock Lesnar, it cost him the WWE World Championship. We both of us said Brock's going to show up in the Royal Rumble and he's going to win it. And that's what happened, right? And we can talk about other predictable moments. There were other predictable moments. Ronda Rousey winning, and as I saw that she was in, is a predictable moment. Right. But the Brock one, I mean, it was 2 matches prior. Brock loses due to interference by Roman.
Why do you book it like that, though? It's almost legit like they literally just booked it on the spot half an hour before the show. I swear there better be a dirt sheet report of Vince tore up the Royal Rumble script half an hour before the show and like rewrote everything. Because
I think it was 100% pre-planned, and I think it was because they looked back at Money in the Bank from, was it a year ago, 2 years ago, when they had Brock show up last minute and win, and they thought, oh, that's such a good surprise. That's a great storyline. Let's tell that again. Okay,
just give me one.
But the thing is, like I said, it was so predictable. As soon as we saw Brock get cheated out of the title, I say cheated out of, it's just as soon as there was that interference, we knew he's going to win. And the thing is, they didn't have to do it. Much like they can tell us same storyline without him winning the Royal Rumble. They can tell the same storyline without Brock winning the Royal Rumble, right?
Exactly.
All he has to do is come out on SmackDown and be like, you motherfucker, right? I was going to win that match. I was going to beat Bobby Lashley. And you had to come out and stick your fucking head of the table ass where it didn't belong.
And that was probably one of the only things I did like in terms of an ending with Paul Heyman kind of taking Roman's side. However, just making Lashley, I felt it made Lashley look a little bad. So I was kind of like, really?
It made Lashley look bad because there was a visual pin on Lashley. He took an F5, visually pinned 1, 2, 3.
Oops.
And that's part of it there. I didn't hate the way it ended. I do think the storyline could have been told a little cleaner with having Heyman, like, it was wishy-washy that he turned on Brock. And it would have been way more entertaining if it had been Heyman actively turning on Brock, to me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like he's just going to anyone who has power, but at the same time, you make Heyman this mastermind kind of a guy, but then you make him look like a little bitch.
Yeah, that's the deal. He stood there and he looked scared, and then he handed the belt to Roman for Roman to use. And it would have been so much more satisfying if Roman showed up, speared Brock, and then walked over, and before he got over to the side, Heyman was up on the apron holding the belt out to him.
Right.
Like, I was just waiting for you to show up. Here's the belt. Go kill him. Right. But anyways, that's a nitpicky thing. I didn't hate the interference. I think it would have worked better if there wasn't a visual pin, right? If there wasn't a Brock had it won moment. If it was, because there were 2 ref bumps. In a row, exactly. Right? And if instead there was just the first ref bump, and then while that ref bump was happening, Brock turns around, surprise spear, then gets hit by the belt. Then you can even have Brock stumble around for a bit and then get hit by a second spear by Bobby Lashley and then pinned. So Bobby Lashley looks, in his mind like he's still what. Anyways, but that's nitpicky. But like we're on most predictable, and I don't think either of us can argue that Brock winning the Royal Rumble wasn't the most predictable moment of the night.
Oh no, that was certainly the most predictable. And
So
everyone knew it. Even Twitter went crazy and like we're saying, really? Like now we know what's gonna happen. Like
yeah. So we'll move on to the next category, botch of the night. There weren't a whole lot of what I would call botches. But there was one that I think wins botch of the night, and that's Kofi. That's the only word to say about Kofi.
yeah.
He had this whole miraculous save one. And the thing is, we talked about it last night. It could have still worked if they didn't have him on camera with both feet touching the ground.
But it wouldn't have made sense to not have them on camera because then if it did work, you would have missed that spot.
You've got enough delay and replay, right? You can have a camera on him, but not live. They do it all the time with an alternate angle. And then you have him get hit out. You don't see his feet. You just see him hit the side. And then if it works, you have Michael Cole go, we need to see the replay on that. And then the replay shows that he lands without his feet touching and he gets up there. If his feet do touch and the camera's not live, you just fucking trash that footage. Or you hold on to it if you want to have someone say, you cheated to stay in the Royal Rumble. We have footage that showed your feet hit, but the referee missed it. Or whatever, right? There's storylines you can tell. But because the camera was on him when it happened, and it was very clear that both feet hit the ground, that's got to be botch of the night, right?
And there was so many, like not so many. There was the feet were there for so long, which was also the issue.
It was like, not an incidental touch.
Yeah.
But it does make me kind of wonder how much of the rest of the match had to be fucking tweaked around. Now, there wasn't a ton of match left. Kofi entered number 24. So there were only 6 more entrants. And then the end.
I don't think it would have mattered. I think you missed.
I don't think it would have changed the ending.
Spot.
I don't think. But here's the deal. You then ended up having Riddle and Orton eliminate Otis and Big E. And then Brock eliminating Bad Bunny and Shane McMahon. And then Randy Orton. And then eventually eliminating Drew McIntyre for the win. Right?
Why didn't you make Drew win?
Yeah.
Too?
Oh, we'll talk about that one. Because Drew, here's the deal. Drew is the obvious choice to win. For me, I think Randy Orton winning is where you really go for a couple reasons, but the biggest being the fucking pay-per-view is in St. Louis, which is where Randy Orton fucking lives. The crowd,
I hate Randy Orton.
The crowd was so hot for him, right?
For sure.
If Randy Orton had won, the pop would have been fucking epic.
Yeah, but only St. Louis would have cared.
It doesn't matter because this is a visual show. This is a visual medium, right? To be able to play for the next 2 months, the crowd exploding because he won is everything. Being able to play it 2 years from now, being able to put it on his retirement video or his Hall of Fame video when he gets into the Hall of Fame. The explosion from that would have been CM Punk level explosion from the crowd. Right. And that's all that matters is the visual of that. Storyline wise, Drew McIntyre is the person who should have won. And so we can argue that the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble was the botch of the night. It was the most predictable moment, but it also was the botched king moment of the night. We'll move on to overhype of the night. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm sure there was a lot of women botches because a lot of those people haven't wrestled in a very long time in the Women's Rumble. So
I don't remember anything that I thought was a huge botch. Kelly tried to do her stupid tilt-a-whirl again, and it never looks good. She just needs to fucking stop.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it as a botch, really.
Fair.
Anyways, moving on to overhype of the night. What was the moment that was hyped up to be so big and didn't live up to it at all?
Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns.
Really?
Well, I mean, yes, you have the Rumbles. Sure. That's done messed up. But I honestly was more, but we've seen kind of shitty Rumbles. But I was, I think I was more disappointed with the Roman Seth because of the ending. The Brock Lashley, I was mad at too, because I felt like they could have done a heck of a lot more. But I also kind of enjoyed that ending. Yeah. So I mean, the entire Rumble was an overhype, but you know,
I don't in the long run. I have nitpicky things with the ending to the Brock versus Bobby Lashley one, but I don't have a problem with how it ended overall. I have a problem with how Seth versus Roman ended, but it's in the candidacy for me as match of the night, which is why to me it's so weird to think of it as overhype of the night. I would almost argue that Becky Lynch versus Doudrop was overhype of the night, if only because they pitched it like it was this big David versus Goliath sort of match. And then it didn't really play out like it. They picked it like no Becky Lynch was the heel. Well, yeah. And Becky Lynch was the heel, but she didn't cheat to win. Doudrop didn't look badass at it, but she, I don't know. So that might be the overhype of the night for me. And it's sad because I think Doudrop, I'm so over that name. Let her be Viper again and just roll with it. But anyways, so we're going to keep rolling because we've been talking for an hour now, and we'll just keep going with worst performance of the night. And, I mean, this is... for a Royal Rumble, there's a lot of options to say worst performance of the night. Like, oh, Molly Holly lasted 20 whole seconds. That's worst performance of the night. Oh, Melina only lasted 50 seconds. Cameron lasted 50 seconds. Those are... But were they worse performances? I don't think so, because they still told the story that they were supposed to tell, right?
Right.
Worst performance might have been Doudrop, as an overall.
Yeah. I mean, I would maybe have to go with Roman and Seth just because of the ending. You kind of really messed that up. You weren't supposed to be able to touch the ropes unless it was DQ'd because he touched the ropes and he did 5 seconds, and then that's why he disqualified him.
That's why you disqualified is because... But here's the deal. That's going to come up in my worst move of the night. I'm spoiling it here. Or worst moment, I guess. Worst moment of the night. So I'm spoiling that for you guys here. That's coming up in a... But to me, that the overall match was so good between them that while it left a bad taste in my mouth, an unfulfilled taste in my mouth with how it ended, I don't actually have a problem with the way it ended overall. I have a problem with one moment out of it. So that's why I think Doudrop's probably mine for worst performance, because it's an overall sort of a thing. Just out of all of them.
How do you do a schmoz finish on something you were preparing for? And this is why it was my overhype. How do you do a schmoz finish like that? And you built this story, which you know is ending right now because you're going to go face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Why not just have a crazy, deadly, good match and then just have Roman win anyways at the end, because finally Roman gets his opportunity to shine against Seth.
I'm gonna take exception to the phrase schmoz finish, because I think schmoz finish is what happened in the Bobby Lashley match. This wasn't a schmoz finish. This was a DQ finish that was schmozed, and I'm using it in a term here. The way finish happened was wrong, and that's part of the problem. I don't have a problem with Roman looking fucking vicious and saying, I'm not letting go of the hold. I don't care if it DQs me. I retain the belt one way or another. I'm so angry at this guy, I'm not letting go of this hold. I don't have a problem with that. So that's why it's not worst performance, because performance is an overall thing.
Why do you have the Usos banned and then you still use this stupid finish? Like, you gave us so much hype over it.
I disagree here, because this finish puts over Roman. Yes, he lost, but it puts him over from a vicious standpoint. He's finally to the point where he's so vicious, he doesn't care whether he gets the W on the match. He retained the title and proved in the end that he was more vicious than Seth Rollins. The problem, there was an execution problem with it. And the problem, it's partially on Seth for blame, and it's partially on referee Charles Robinson for the blame. But like I said, that's why I get to that in worst moment, because I don't think that part of the finish ruined the performance of the match, because the match itself, performance-wise, was good. And I bought into the concept of Roman being so angry that he no longer cared about whether he won the match, only whether he hurt Seth Rollins and whether he retained the championship. And he did both of those, which are heel things to do. And Roman's supposed to be the heel in this, right? That's why it's a heel move for the champion to just fucking walk out and say, I'll take the count out, right? I'll take the L. As long as I get to keep this belt, I'll take the L. That's what this was. This was Roman saying, I'll fucking take the L on this as long as I keep the belt and as long as I fucking hurt Seth Rollins. And I'm fine with that. It was the moment how they did it that is the problem. So that's why I disagree on it being worst performance tonight. But that's fine. That's the whole point. You have your worst performance. I have my worst performance. And that's fine. I still disagree with it, though. So we're going to move on to worst move of the night. I mean, if we take it from a more metaphorical standpoint, the worst move of the night was having Brock win the Royal Rumble. That was the worst move. Right?
For sure.
You could argue worst move was Kofi's feet hitting the ground. That was a bad move. You could argue that the worst move was Kelly's stupid fucking tilt-a-whirl. Or even having Kelly in there in the first place. I'm going to say, to me, worst move of the night was, and this is being a little meta on it, but the worst move was doing the whole fucking someone almost gets eliminated, but saves themselves miraculously, and then just fucking gets eliminated 10 seconds later, right? You have to make these
They've
miraculous.
Been doing that for a few years now.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
why.
they need to fucking stop. You have to start making these miraculous saves matter. You know, I'm not saying they have to win, but have them last another 2 to 5 minutes, right? Have them use this to evade an elimination and maybe get an elimination afterwards. You know what I mean? Eliminate the person who thought they eliminated them. And then they come back in and they go for another run for a bit. And then they try to do the same miraculous thing again and get eliminated or something. But this was literally fucking Dana Brooke gets thrown out, caught on the outside by Reggie, put back in, and then boom, eliminated. And that's just like, you go to this fucking well every fucking year and you expect us to give you this pop. And I'm tired of it. Until we see someone who does this miraculous save last a little bit of time, I'm not popping for it anymore.
And you know who's the victim majority of that? Kofi. When he does his little spot for the Rumble thing, every time he does his little spot and then he comes back in, he just gets eliminated.
Just gets eliminated right away.
Why?
Yep. And that's why I'm done with it.
First time he did it back in 2013, and I know this because I just saw it recently. He did the same thing. This is the one where he jumped from the announce table. He used JBL's chair. He hopped in as like it was a pogo stick, and then he just gets kicked out. And I'm like, come on.
And that's it. Let them last. Have that elimination happen number 12, and let them last till number 16 comes in, or some shit like that. But make it so it at least matters. So it's like, oh look, they saved themselves for a while. They might actually have a shot. But as of right now, I know anytime we get a miraculous comeback in, that they're like immediately out, and that's what happened. So.
My worst move would probably have to be for the technicians of the show for not realizing that, I don't know, the pyro would have melted your WrestleMania sign. I mean, just you figured.
Hey, at least they stopped people from pointing at for like 20 minutes while they put the fire out.
That is true. So we never actually saw the fire at all?
Not on screen. No, they must have said don't point at the WrestleMania sign for a bit. Because they actually lowered it. They evacuated that section, moved everyone to different areas, lowered the sign down so they could put the fire out, then put it back up just so Brock's pyro at the end lit it back on fire again.
Oh, really? I didn't hear about that. Oh, Jesus.
Fucking WWE. Okay, so we'll move on to worst moment. And like I said, for me, worst moment is in that Roman versus Seth match. And it's simply this, right? So the guillotine choke is on. Seth's crawling towards the ropes, does not get to the ropes, looks like he's passed out. Charles Robinson decides, for whatever reason, now keep in mind, this is part of why this is such a bad move, is we've established in WWE that the referee can stop the match and declare a victor if they think the person is out, right? They no longer have to check. Back in the 90s, referees had to do the 3 arm drop to prove that someone was out. But because of MMA coming along, where referees just make the decision, that person's out, match is over, WWE has moved to that style where the referee just decides the person's out. But in this one, for some reason or other, Charles Robinson decided, I'm going to pick up Seth Rollins' hand, and I'm going to drop it. Oops, I dropped it right on the ring, or the ropes, right? Oh, well, that means now he's in the ropes, so I have to stop the hold, right?
Right.
That's not how it works, Charles. The referee can't just pick someone's arm up and put it on the ropes and say, oh, it's a rope break, right? And so that's why I say a part of the blame goes to Seth. Because in reality, what it should have been was Seth crawling to the ropes. He's reaching out for the ropes, and he's fading. Mm-hmm. And then his head goes down, and then his arm falls on the rope. Then the referee makes the call. Oh, it's on the ropes, right? I have to break the hold. Referee doesn't have to do anything. But because Seth stopped prior to getting his hand on the ropes, the only way the referee could call for
a rope
break was to pick Seth's hand up and move it. And that's why it's my worst move of the night. It's just dumb. And in the end, there's so many ways they could have worked around it. But instead, they had the referee pick up his arm and toss it on. Oh, look, which now means in every match going forward, the referee needs to pick up their arm and make sure that their arm can't reach the ropes first before he calls them out. Right? Oh, I'm pretty sure he's out, but let's make sure his leg can't reach the rope. Oh, his leg can reach the rope, so it's a rope break.
No, that's not a thing. Yeah, it was just a mess up. It was certainly a botch.
It would, yeah. But the thing is, the problem is these botches establish a precedent. And so now we can look at all future ones and be like, why didn't the referee check to make sure? Because this is what the referee did here. So that's why it's my worst moment.
No one's going to think about Royal Rumble 2022 ever as a point of reference to anything.
I don't know. It's
my
2
worst
years
move?
later, and we're still talking about Hell in a Cell 2019.
Well, I mean,
3 years later, almost.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, my worst move is just has to be Brock. As soon as I heard Brock coming into the Rumble, as soon as I heard that theme music, I just instantly got disgusted. I almost threw up in my mouth. I just got very disappointed to the point where I think I'm literally just not going to watch legit any more weekly shows and just watch the pay-per-views, if that, and even not watch the Saudi show.
Well, I'm glad you're joining me on that. I never watched the Saudi show. So before now's when we start going into the bests, right? And I'm all for talking about the bests, although there's not a ton of bests on. But I'm going to take a break for a palate cleanser. That palate cleanser is opening another pack of these WWE Heritage 2021 cards to see if we've got anyone who's no longer with WWE. I believe we've got 9 packs remaining. So
4.
Pick a number 4. 1, 2, 3. Pack number 4.
Ooh.
Box over there. Let's take a moment and see if we've got any cool cards in this here pack. Still have a hard time. I'm trying to find some AEW cards so we can do.
Still can't find anything?
I can't find it in here. Hey, our first 3 packs in, our first eliminated or no longer with the company Karrion Kross.
Damn.
Out of 3 packs, so 20 cards, that's the first one that is no longer with the company. Fired and then brought back, Zelina Vega.
Oh, there we go. The Queen of the Ring.
Our first holo card, a foil holo Damian Priest.
Oh, nice.
That's a nice card.
Yeah.
Our 2011 Superstar Miz card.
Nice.
I think there are 11 of those Superstar Miz cards. Our first Allen and Ginter card of this pack. KO.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Nice Allen and Ginter card.
I mean, I don't know if him have on that shirt on that background looks cool, but sure.
Yeah, it kind of it's nice, decorative
it's not
background,
good contrast.
and he's got a sleeveless T-shirt that says "Stun the World, Fight Owens" on it. I don't know if it quite fits.
Could have at least added some effect to the him or something to make him blend more. Jeez.
Our second Allen and Ginter. This one makes me excited. This is like maybe my favorite card I've put so far. Allen and Ginter Psycho Sid.
Nice.
And our final...
most notably known for pooping his pants when The Undertaker gave him a tombstone, I believe in SummerSlam of 92.
Well, that might be most notably known for you. For me, it's that fucking
ankle break. No, that's
right. Oh, that thing haunts my dreams. And then the final card of the night, a relatively recent card, Beardless Otis.
Hey, Chucky.
So 3 packs in, only one person who's been fired from WWE so far.
Thank God you didn't get like the masked Karrion Kross. That would have been
fucking epic. Now, this was the first card we pulled from the first pack, and it's someone who Still hasn't been released. Free Ali.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna separate my Allen and Ginter cards out because I like them. And then put my foil card out separate.
How much did you pay for that pack?
$20 for the whole box.
Oh, not bad.
So, yeah, I ain't complaining. But yeah, and so far I've gotten 2 Superstar Miz cards. So no, but the Damian Priest is my first hollow one.
That's cool.
Nice looking one. So, hey, DA Fabe must have woke up. But okay, now that our palette is in, let's talk about best moments. This is probably going to be the tougher part of the night, though. Best moment.
Sure. Seth Rollins coming out in Shield gear.
Yep. 110%.
Or Roman asking for the title and Paul Heyman giving it to him. Either way, oh no, that's 2 separate matches. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going.
Yeah, the Seth in Shield. In fact, I'm gonna be even more specific to it. Sierra, Hotel, Indigo, Echo, Lima, Delta. That moment there was the best moment. And that was in the first 3 minutes of the actual pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That does say a lot about the pay-per-view as a whole. When the best moment was the second ring entrance of the entire night.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, the Brock Lashley match was pretty interesting at the beginning, but then Lesnar just fully taking over with so many suplexes. Although very impressive because Lashley's freaking huge.
I did get a little worried. I'm gonna say this. I mentioned it on the
that's
stream.
why he tilted his back, though, Lashley, because I felt like Brock was throwing him too hard or something, because at some point Lashley started falling more on his side.
He did, but the problem is that puts all that pressure, all that impact on your shoulder instead of your back, right? And that's what causes torn rotator cuffs and fucking dislocated shoulders and shoulder injuries.
I felt like that was on purpose, though, Lashley was doing, though, because I feel like, because I saw those back bumps and I'm like, oh my God, that looked painful. But, I'm just like, whatever. And then I noticed those other ones were on his side. And I'm like, okay.
As someone who has fallen both flat on his back on cement and on a shoulder on cement, I am telling you this now. Flat on your back hurts less. And flat on your back is better in the long run.
It just looked like he was trying to turn himself, though.
I think it was less him, and it might have been, but my point is still, in the end, that's a bad thing. It doesn't matter whether he was doing it or whether Brock was doing it. Because to me, it looked more like Brock's release started. He started releasing the guy different. And because he was releasing Lashley different, he was flying out different. Instead of trying to throw him in a straight belly-to-back suplex, in a straight German suplex, he was trying to throw him in almost an exploder, which tilts them halfway through it. And that's where I think the problem was. But in the end, it doesn't matter to me whether it was on Bobby Lashley adjusting or whether it was on Brock. In the end, I was worried most of the night, most of that time, about Bobby Lashley's shoulder, because as a person who had to have rotator cuff surgery on my right shoulder, that's how rotator cuff surgery happens.
Right.
That's how you fuck up your rotator cuff, is by landing on that shoulder.
That's a lot of weight. going on your shoulder. Like,
a lot
fuck.
of weight landing on a very precarious joint, right?
Right.
It's one of the only ball joints that we have. It's our shoulders and our hips are the only cup and ball joints that we have. The rest of them are a lot more sturdy. Rotator cuffs are fucking really, really easy to injure. And they're not fun. Here's the deal. I'm telling you this. I'm not like a high level athlete and anything like that.
Nope.
But after rotator cuff surgery, my arm does not move the way it used to move. Like throwing a ball, I cannot throw a ball the same way anymore because my arm does not move in the same motions that it used to because of the way they had to rearrange the ligaments in doing this rotator cuff surgery. And so you have to get rotator cuff surgery. Suddenly every move that Bobby Lashley has to do, he has to learn to do in a different way. So I'm telling you, I don't care whose fault it was that he was landing on his shoulder. It could have been Bobby's fault. Him choosing to land on his shoulder because the back bump hurt or whatever. But I'm telling you that was the bad choice. And it risked his shoulder being damaged more than anything. Even just from the standpoint of the reason a flat back bump hurts less than landing on your shoulder is simply distribution of force. It's the same reason you can lay on a bed of nails and not get punctured, but if you try to step on a single nail, you fuck up your foot, right?
Right.
Because you're spreading force out amongst 100 nails or 1,000 nails instead of one nail, right? When you land flat on your back or just flat on your shoulders, both shoulders down like this, right? You spread that impact out across that entire area. It hurts less and it's less damaging to your body. You start landing on one single spot, the entire impact is going into that one single spot, and that's when you fuck up your shoulder. And I was worried for Bobby Lashley's shoulder through that.
And no reports, so thank God he's good.
Fortunately, it looks like he was good, but no, for me, 100% best moment was the first 10 minutes of the show. I mean, here's the deal is, right? In a
no
period,
Alexa, no Bailey, no Asuka. Like, you could have given us any of those. Well, maybe Bailey's not ready yet. Bailey had posted a picture on Twitter, whatever. She was just chilling. But we know Asuka's seemingly fine. I don't know if Asuka's randomly outside of the country or something and chilling, you know. But I don't know. But you had Alexa Bliss, okay. But Bliss didn't do anything. Like, I just don't get it.
No. But that's my point. Is that now here's part of it. Part of what makes that such a great moment is because of the music, right? Which brings us to talking about the fucking generic ass music that they're moving to. Fucking Ricochet got new music. Shayna Baszler got new music. And I get it. Here's what it is. They're trying to move away from CFO dollar signs because of a whole licensing shit with that, and they don't want to pay for it anymore and all this stuff. But the night, because they moved Ricochet and Shayna Baszler to their new music on fucking SmackDown, the night before the Royal Rumble, a event that one's entrance music is where you get your pop, right, is not the time to change entrance music. But it was fucking generic, bland-ass music.
I got a newsflash for you, though. WWE doesn't care about Ricochet or Shayna Baszler.
They
Very
don't,
unfortunate,
but they should care about pop.
They don't.
Because
Not for them.
It doesn't matter about who it's for. Their whole thing with Royal Rumble is the countdown: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's it gonna be? And it's someone. Yeah, pop. But when you change people, because Ricochet and Shayna Baszler are just the latest in this example, right? But you're changing fucking everybody's music to something to get away from CFOs, right? You're changing so many people's music. And that's bringing it back to being the best moment. Part of what made it the best moment is they used the music that we were familiar with for that wrestler, right? In this case, it was the Shield entrance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because we were so familiar with it, as soon as we heard Sierra, I knew exactly what was fucking happening, and I popped, right? Like, yeah, that's the way to do it.
That might have been fun on the stream to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, the replay's up for like 14 more days, so you know. But the problem is, at the rest of the night, most of the people have been moved to generic ass music over the time, and so most of the Royal Rumble countdown moments, the pop was limited because I didn't recognize who they were introing until I finally saw them. Even Queen Zelina got a new ring entrance music last night. Now, hers was at least recognizable because it said, like, bow to the queen or some shit like that right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew it was Queen Zelina, right? But so many of them, because they're trying to move away from CFOs, they're moving them to bland-ass music, and that it suffered because of that. Anyways, I'm going to skip Breakout Star of the Night because I don't think that there was one. Right?
Bad Bunny.
See, I thought he was the Breakout Star a year ago.
But he's only there once every year, so Bad Bunny.
Yep. Not a Breakout Star for me because...
Dude, that high-risk maneuver was dope.
When the sad thing is... Bad Bunny looked better than half of the legends in the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah, straight up.
I say legends. There really wasn't a whole lot of fucking legends. So let's say half of the mid card.
And no Kane. No.
Yeah. In fact, let's talk about that. I'm gonna take this best line thing off. We'll come back to best line because let's talk about the Men's Royal Rumble a bit. There was almost fucking no surprises aside from Brock.
And Shane.
Well, Shane is the almost, when I say almost no. Like I knew Bad Bunny was going to be in it as soon as on the pre-show they played a 10-minute long thing about Bad Bunny, right? I'm like, he's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
And his concert coming out.
All of this stuff. I'm like, yep, he's going to be on. Johnny Knoxville, we knew was going to be there, so.
But that was god-awful. Like, I thought you would have gave Johnny Knoxville a little bit more bumps, a little bit this, see some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a Rumble,
personally thought the whole thing, I said it on the stream, we were talking about it, I was immediately wrong, but I thought the whole thing would be Sami Zayn comes in, gets eliminated by Johnny Knoxville. Johnny Knoxville gets to celebrate that he eliminated Sami Zayn, and then fucking someone comes along and eliminates Knoxville. And it didn't happen that way. They went the other way and had Sami Zayn eliminate Johnny Knoxville. But here's the deal. Bad Bunny, Johnny Knoxville, and Shane McMahon were literally the only non-active wrestlers in the entire Men's Royal Rumble.
Yep.
That's it. Everyone else was a current active wrestler in some way, right?
Only one of them has a movie coming out February 4th, Jackass Forever.
Mm-hmm.
Not sponsored.
Shane McMahon, it's a family pop thing. You know, his dad calls him and said, hey, I know you're not currently on our contract as a wrestler, but you want to come in and do a thing. Shane McMahon's like, I'm doing my other business, but I'll come and do one night. But fucking other than that, everyone else in the Royal Rumble was a current WWE superstar. Some of them maybe shouldn't have been in the Royal Rumble, but
I would love the dirt sheets to tell me if they get info on if WWE has tried to contact certain people and they just rejected. You know what I mean? Because how do you not try to get any older legends? You had nope. I'm thinking of an older Royal Rumble. How do you just not try to get older legends kind of thing? You know what I mean?
well,
How do you not try to get
reportedly
or
Yeah, there was a lot of reports about Mick Foley. I think Mick Foley probably just said, "Listen, I'm not in shape to do this shit. I killed my body for 20 years, and now it's time for me to fucking relax, and just enjoy my retirement, sign some autographs, do my shit like that."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, there are others like you mentioned, Kane.
Kane,
Undertaker's retired, and here's the I get it from this standpoint. I think Undertaker is like, I'm retired. I want to at least for a few years be retired, right?
Right.
When I said I'm retired, when I said my career was over, I want that to mean something for a while, at least.
Right.
So I get it. But here's the deal. Kane's not retired.
Right.
He's the thing. Fucking the
JBL wasn't at
Boogeyman's
the
not
kickoff
retired.
show, but I guess.
But the Boogeyman's not retired. Fucking.
Where's your little classic Santino Marella come in?
Yeah, Santino Morella's not retired. Fucking the Godfather / whatever character
honestly,
you want him to come in. No, here's the deal. These people, they're there for a pop and then get eliminated. That's the whole point of but it's what makes the Royal Rumble fun is these surprise someones, right? So you have the Godfather come out and get eliminated. You have the fucking Boogeyman come out and get eliminated. I'm not a fan of the Boogeyman.
Why wouldn't Seth Rollins have been in the match? If you have freaking Brock Lesnar, who just had a match, why the heck wouldn't you have used Seth Rollins to be in there as well? Like, if you're gonna,
the only reason I can think is to sell the fact that after Roman was DQ'd, Roman hit him on the back with a chair like 30 times. I'm exaggerating, but it was like 10. So you have him not in there to sell that he was injured by that. But here's the deal, right? You had Madcap Moss in the Royal Rumble. Snore. You had Omos in the Royal Rumble. I guess the reason is so that then you can have that moment where fucking 6 people join together to eliminate him. You had Dominic Mysterio in the Royal Rumble, and he didn't even fucking turn on his dad.
And they didn't even do anything with the Street Profits either. Like,
no.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
Street Profits.
There was so many stories that they were telling before the Rumble that they could have just told during the Rumble as well to keep it kind of going, but they just didn't mesh with anything, and it was just so weird to me. And then, like, why do you have KO get eliminated by Shane? Are you like that? And I was waiting for the commentators to say something of their feud way back when, but they didn't even do that. I was like, okay, so just have KO lose to Shane, and then I don't know, man. There was just so many stupid eliminations.
But in the end, part of why it was disappointing was the fact that it had basically no surprises. And I'd say basically, yes, Shane was the sole surprise. I don't count Brock as a surprise because 2 matches earlier, we knew he was going to be in it, right? In fact, I'm going to tell you something that you didn't know because you didn't watch the kickoff show. Fucking Pete Rosenberg fucking ruined it even more. Because when they were talking about the Royal Rumble and who your picks to win were, he picked Brock Lesnar.
Oh, really?
At the time, Brock Lesnar wasn't in the Royal Rumble.
Well, we don't know that necessarily, though.
They had a graphic that showed all the people declared for the Royal Rumble, and Brock Lesnar was not on it. And from a kayfabe standpoint, the graphic is canon. Because that's all we know. Everyone else is a surprise. So for Pete Rosenberg to be like, well, we can't count out Brock Lesnar. He's going to come into that, you know. In fact, I think he even said number 30. I'd have to rewatch it to be certain on that. But
okay.
But fucking in the end, at that point in time, we were not supposed to know Brock Lesnar was in the match. Whether he was in the match or not, we were not supposed to know.
But the whole point
Pete
of
Rosenberg,
it is anybody could be in the Royal Rumble, so why not Brock?
So you have Pete Rosenberg say, listen, there's still a bunch of open spots in it. So I can't pick a winner because I don't know. It could be someone like Brock Lesnar shows up in the Royal Rumble.
And you're sure he didn't say that?
I am certain he did not say it could be, because I'm certain he said, don't forget, Brock Lesnar is entering at, and I believe he said number 30.
No way. Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out too. I don't think
I'm
he would have said it
90%
that way, 'cause
certain.
that's fucked up.
He said Brock Lesnar at number 30. He said it not like he could be coming in. It was that he was in the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar is in the Royal Rumble.
Damn.
And that's the problem, right? Because, like I said, you could say anything can happen in a Royal Rumble. You could have Brock Lesnar enter, and then it's fine, right? But he didn't say it that way. Because I even said on the live stream, he just said Brock Lesnar's, but Brock Lesnar's not on the graphic. I don't think Brock Lesnar declared for the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So yeah, okay. We're going to go back into best line. I don't know. This was one of those pay-per-views that didn't have a ton of talking at it. So best line. I mean, when you've got 2 hour-long matches in a pay-per-view, it's a little tough to have a whole lot of smack talking.
Did Roman at least say
Hotel.
St. Louis acknowledge me?
I don't believe so.
Oh.
He might have. I don't remember if he got on the mic before.
Okay.
So he might have. I can't say so for certain. I don't remember it happening.
Well, that would have been my best line.
For me, the best line was Sierra, Hotel, Indigo, Echo, Lima, Delta. That's it. That's the best line there. Got the biggest pop.
John McAfee dropping Mox's name all the time.
That might be it, yeah. With his brother Moxley.
Straight up. Or not even at the Rumble, but Corey Graves making a nice little jab. Brock Lesnar took my number.
Yeah. I would have been happier to see Corey Graves come in number 30.
That would have been a pop.
I would have popped fuck hard for that. And I didn't even watch like NXT when he was in that.
That's it.
Just from a standpoint of someone coming back from those
commentating.
injuries and making it, yeah, I would have popped hard for it. But so we'll move on. Best performance of the night. I've got my performance, and it's probably going to surprise some people to hear me say it, but fucking Roman Reigns. From beginning to end, his part of the night, he played perfectly. Right? I know you disagree on the end of the Roman versus Seth match, but for me...
No, but that's more Seth's doing and the referees doing, though. For that.
Yeah. But for me, Roman did his part right. And then coming out later to attack Brock Lesnar and all that stuff, performance of the night for me.
I'd agree with that. I think that's spot on, considering there wasn't a lot of other people who did perform well. So Roman, though, definitely would take it for Royal Rumble.
Okay.
We agree.
Underhype of the night. Was there any match? I don't know if there's going to be one that gets this. Was there any match that didn't get talked about that surprised you? And the reason I say that is there were only really 4 non-Royal Rumble matches, and they were all fairly hyped, you know?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
None of them...
I think that was the issue, because they were all overhyped, that by the time we got to it, we were expecting creme de la creme, and we got creme de la poux. You know what I mean? We got like just complete trash and utter disappointment through and through. So I don't know, not available.
Okay. OMG moment of the night. Was there a moment that made you say, holy shit?
Probably Lashley German suplexing Brock. That to me was pretty crazy. I was like, oh my God.
There was that time that Lashley hit Brock with like 3 spears in a row. That, I don't know if it was 3, but 2 or 3 spears in a row. That was pretty good.
Or even Brock's German suplex and didn't even let go of him. Picked him back up and like did another one. And I'm like, oh my God. But Brock's a beast. Both of them are beasts. It's just wild to me.
The tough thing is, and I said this kind of earlier, I try to keep this out of my mind when watching WWE and all that stuff, but this Royal Rumble came the same week that we had a springboard diamond cutter off the top of a 12-foot ladder, and a vertical suplex off the top of a 15-foot ladder, and a crossroads off the top of a 12 ladder.
Okay, but you can't compare them because
No,
AEW is gold for their wrestling, and WWE is gold for their.
Well, that's why I said I try to keep them out, but in the end, it's hard to have an OMG moment when earlier in the week I literally jumped out of my seat 3 times in one match. And so there wasn't a moment in these that I was like, oh, holy, I mean, the closest was, holy shit, is Sasha Banks dressed up like Sailor Moon? That's probably the closest OMG moment.
She did look spot on. She did.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Ivory coming out to RTC. That I wasn't expecting.
Maybe.
And it brought back a little nostalgia. Then they ruined it by her going in and out.
Yeah. If they really wanted to have this whole the forbidden doors open, they would have really pushed hard to get Serena Deeb to show out as Straight Edge. Just have her show up as Straight Edge with the X's on the back of her hand. But they're not going to do that because that would remind people of CM Punk, and they don't want people to remember that CM Punk exists. So
right.
We're going to move to best move of the night. Best single move.
So it's a mix between the Canadian Destroyer from Bad Bunny or Brock's double German suplex, not letting go of Lashley.
For me, it probably came during the Roman Seth match. There was a period in that where Seth hit, I think, all of his finishers, including the stomp on Roman. And it didn't put Roman away. That might have been the best move there, but I don't know. So the final category of the night, match of the night.
Oh.
What's your choice? Pick your poison.
It's not the Rumbles. It's not Miz and Maurice. So I just have Seth and Roman and Brock and Lashley, correct?
Or Becky and Doudrop.
Oh, it's definitely not Becky and Doudrop.
Okay.
So, yeah, Seth and Roman.
That's my match of the night. Aside from the problem at the end, I'll call it, it was the best overall match. It was the match that I had the most will they or won't they. I all the other matches I kind of knew how they were gonna go. Right. I knew Edge and Beth were gonna win. We knew if Brock went into the Men's Royal Rumble, he was gonna win. We knew Ronda Rousey, if she shows up, she's gonna win. I didn't
and her
have
post interview, by the way, did you see it?
I didn't. I didn't need help sleeping last night.
It was just really garbage. Like, one, you could obviously tell it wasn't scripted, and Ronda was just talking like Ronda. But I think we're gonna get a heel Ronda, which might be weird because then you're not gonna face Charlotte, I guess, or I don't know, because the interviewer had asked her, how did you feel about the reaction that you got from the crowd? And she mentioned, well, I'm not going to get fooled like that again. Just saying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, why are you turning heel? What do you mean?
I don't think it's turning heel. I think it's just staying heel. She was heel before. She's heel again. But her whole thing, with her heel turn at the last one, she's a shitty heel. But her whole thing with her heel turn at the end of the previous run was because she was trying to keep the crowd happy and they didn't appreciate how good she was or whatever. And so she's not going to fall for that again because she doesn't care what the crowd thinks. I get it. But no, in the end, you're right. It's going to be heel Shayna, but it's going to be heel Shayna versus heel fucking...
I mean, I love how you said Shayna. I mean, that sounds awesome to me, but it's definitely not Shayna.
Heel Ronda.
Got me all excited again. God
heel
damn
Ronda
it.
versus heel Charlotte. That's what I meant to say. Heel Charlotte is what it is. But it's going to be heel versus heel. But yeah, the best match of the night was the first match of the night, and it was maybe a 3.5
which
star
also
match
had
total.
potentially had the botch of the night.
Yeah. Yep.
Not counting Kofi's little.
But in the end, I don't want to oversell that. It was a good match, but it was like a 3.5 star match.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, well, a 3.5 star match brought down to a 3 by the shitty ending. Right.
Everything else though, like 2.5.
Yep. Which brings us to us saying this. I'm kind of sad that DA Faye wasn't able to join this here stream, because I was gonna rub it in his face. I was gonna be like, in your face.
I think that's why he didn't show up.
Yeah, maybe he's scared. Fucking chicken is what he is. Because he was all like, oh, you're going to have to, you're going to eat your words when I said that GCW was the best pay-per-view of the year so far. Said only until Royal Rumble, then you're going to have best pay-per-view of the year so far shirt for Royal Rumble. And nope. It by far...
For me, the best pay-per-view of the year so far was Hard to Kill, and I just find it funny how Mickie James was on both the best pay-per-view of the year for me and the worst pay-per-view of the year for me. And by the way, I said this to you before, but probably the worst pay-per-view of the decade, and the worst Royal Rumble. I'm willing to go that far.
It might. I'm not willing to go quite that far. Because I think we've had some really shitty WWE pay-per-views. And so I can't put this as worst pay-per-view of the decade because, I mean, I guess we're only 2 years into the decade, so maybe.
Oh,
but
okay. Well, last 10 years though is more what I'm referring to.
I can't remember for certain, but I'm pretty certain that within the last 2 years, there were ones we hated worse than this. I mean, we've had 2 Hell in a Cells that were really fucking shitty. But it was definitely the worst pay-per-view of the year, and arguably maybe the worst Royal Rumble. And part of it was, again, Royal Rumbles are supposed to be fun because they're supposed to be filled with these pop moments where we see all this nostalgia, and we got almost no nostalgia in the men's Royal Rumble. And in the Women's Royal Rumble, our nostalgia was Melina, Kelly, Michelle McCool, Cameron, Alicia Fox, Summer Rae, Nikki and Brie Bella, Ivory,
Molly Holly,
and Mickie James. Molly Holly, yeah. She's and Lita. Lita and Molly Holly were probably the biggest nostalgia pops. And you gave them a combined less than 11 minutes. But men's had almost nothing. And that's where half the fun of a Royal Rumble is those nostalgia pops. Even if you don't have them in the Royal Rumble, you have them backstage teasing that they might enter. You have fucking Ted DiBiase walking around with his $1 million going,
Why didn't you have anyone from NXT?
Yeah, not a single NXT star. Not a one. Despite the fact that we know that LA Knight, Io Shirai, fucking Roddy, and who the other one?
Why didn't you have Veer premiere? Or like that, like...
Yeah, fucking Veer, you've been teasing for 4 years now.
comic book chick there with the lightning when she premiered on SmackDown.
Yeah, Xia Li.
Xia Li, what? She wasn't even. I don't think she was there, right?
Nope, she was not.
No.
But again, we had. We know for a fact that L.A. Knight and Roderick Strong have been backstage at both Raws and SmackDowns over this last week. So why the fuck did we not have them surprise entrant into the Royal Rumble?
I'm telling you, I hope there's a report. I hope there's a report that the script was ripped up and Vince just, because it doesn't make any sense how you have all of this talent. This sounds like it was a rushed scripting job. Like, listen, I don't know. I don't have time. This is what it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it just, like, no one knew what was going on. It was weird.
The thing is, I can almost bet that this did not have a ton of Vince McMahon change at the end. And that's due to a personal thing for Vince McMahon. But the fact that morning his mother died at 101 years old. So she was old, right? But I'm betting he was more concerned with that than with rewriting the Royal Rumble. It also, here's the deal. If you're rewriting the Royal Rumble, we'd still get word that there were a bunch of Hall of Famers backstage that ended up not being used. There hasn't been any reports of that yet.
Right.
Which means that the Hall of Famers that we saw were all that were intended. Which is shitty. So,
which is really bad. Or man, you know what? Maybe no one wants to come back. Maybe they did try. I hope I hope at least that gets reported somehow, way, shape, or form. Maybe like if they ended up trying to call a whole bunch of people to come, and then just a bunch of people were like, no.
I mean, we mentioned earlier, we know that they've been trying to get Jeff Hardy back, and he said, fuck no. And so I bet we want you back to be a surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble was part of the pitch. And he was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, at least Mickie James had got that apology for the garbage bag scenario, but how many people didn't?
Yeah.
Right? So...
Well, but on top of it, it all comes down to, even if there was an apology, even if there was all this stuff, if you spend the past 3 years looking at the way a company is treating their current wrestlers, you're going to think twice before you come in, even for a one-off spot. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, Mickie is also just upping her brand, right? Too. So.
Yeah, Mickey's doing it for Impact. She's doing it for NWA. She's doing it for all that. But again, I'm going to point out there's been a whole lot of talk about WWE's open to working with other companies and all of this stuff. This is all about one single person from another company in the entire Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I know. Those people are just in denial. I don't think anyone, unless I just don't see Vince bowing enough control to these companies, because these companies aren't going to trust you. You have AEW, who has a lot of ex-WWE wrestlers who were fired by them recently in the last 3 years, you know, so, and then you have Impact, who also has the same, but also you have a bunch of people who are just there anyways in the back, managerial and so on, that already know what's up and what kind of company WWE is. And if not, you have friends who were there.
I mean, in the end, money talks is what it comes down to. So, if WWE had wanted more people from Impact, there would have been more people from Impact. Impact 100%, because them appearing in the Royal Rumble raises Impact's profile. So Impact would have been like, yeah, you want Moose? Moose was being talked around heavily, like he was going to be in the Men's Royal Rumble, and it would have been fucking awesome. And he wouldn't have won. We know that. You know that. I know that. But he would have come in. It would have raised
got
the
eliminated
profile.
by Omos.
Yeah, but it would have raised the profile of Impact Wrestling, right? Fucking Nick Aldis from NWA. If they'd have called him, he's Mickey James' husband. So
Right.
if they would have said, "Hey, you want to make an appearance in the Royal Rumble? We'll introduce you as NWA World's Champion Nick Aldis." He's not anymore, but former NWA World's Champion Nick Aldis. He would have done it, right? Billy Corgan would have jumped at that opportunity to have
Right.
NWA talked about on WWE. If they wanted Jordan Grace, but Impact was like, well, you're not one of our champions, they could have called up Zello Pro, and Zello Pro would have said, oh yeah, she's our champion. Fucking, if they wanted Brian Cage, right? His contract's almost up. They call AEW, and AEW says no. He says, well, I'll go and represent Warrior Wrestling, where I'm the current champion, or some shit like that, right?
Extreme Pro
They had options to do, they just fucking didn't. And if they really wanted to look like they're playing well with the others, this was their chance to, and they didn't do it. So,
Right.
But anyways, so on that note, I've said before, like, I'm not quite as down on it as you. In fact, I'm not saying it's a shit pay-per-view. It was unfulfilling. It was unfulfilling. Every match had a chance to be fulfilling and to give you a storyline that you could get behind, and every match failed.
2 out of 10.
Even the one match that I think did, well, the two matches that I think did what they were supposed to do in one way or another, and that's Roman versus Seth and Brock versus Lashley.
Does Dave Meltzer ever rate the Royal Rumbles?
Yeah, well, I think he does. But I think by nature, multi-man matches like that don't tend to get stars.
Oh, okay. So
Just
he'll probably do the other matches then. Okay.
Yeah, the
Damn it! I would have been curious. But either way, I'm curious.
We'll find out in a few days. The Wrestling Observer.
What Culture totally was not a fan of Royal Rumble either.
Yeah, for me, in the
end, trying to be positive as well, but
yeah, I'm not saying it was a great pay-per-view. I'm just saying it wasn't the shittiest pay-per-view. I guarantee you. I if I start going back and looking over the last 3 years of WWE, I'm gonna find 3 of them that I thought were shittier. And at least one of them's probably gonna be a Hell in a Cell. Because
I mean, you're gonna have probably at least 1 or 2 good matches on that card, I feel. Because
I think we had 2 good matches. I think we had 2 3-star matches on this, which I would say are good matches. That being said, in the end, right, 3 out of 5 purely middle of the road, which for a Royal Rumble, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And so it is the worst pay-per-view of the year so far. And very, very easily could end up being the worst pay-per-view of the year.
Well,
WWE is going to have to. Yeah, WWE is going to have to really put something together to be worse than this. They're almost going to have to try. I'm not putting it past them. They might do it.
But then again, they're going to give a lot more money for the Saudi Arabia show. So maybe that might be the pay-per-view to look forward to.
I'm not going to look forward to it because I ain't going to watch it.
No, that's valid. I'm just going to hear about it. I'm not going to watch it either. I'm not going to... I don't know what to do anymore. Like, you wasted a month of my time to hype up this pay-per-view with all of these storylines. And you've essentially gave me the same storylines anyways. Royal Rumble is supposed to be like your road to WrestleMania, not the road you were already on to the same show that we already knew back in like December of the exact storylines that you were doing. Oh no, we have Ronda now, so excuse me. We'll just have someone who hasn't been there for 3 years show up, demolish everybody, because the people who've worked their asses off for the past 3 years where Ronda hasn't been there, doesn't matter because Vince McMahon is an asshat.
Yep.
Oh man.
But on that note,
oh please, yeah,
let's wrap
I'm
things
depressed.
up. Yeah. Well, AEW should be good. We're gonna have MJF versus CM Punk in Chicago this week.
Yeah, that should be a fun time. I'm glad that this feud is ending.
Yeah, I think the feud's gonna end. It's gonna either end with Wardlow helping MJF beat CM Punk, or Wardlow costing MJF the victory.
Right.
One way or another, I think it's going to at least look like MJF was going to win.
Okay.
That's what I suspect. I expect this to be a match that's CM Punk putting MJF over in some way. Even if CM Punk still gets the victory in the end because Wardlow turns on MJF.
Right.
It's still going to put MJF over. But that's the sad thing is we're talking about a WWE pay-per-view, and I'm not excited for Raw tomorrow.
Why? Ronda Rousey's going to be there.
Snore.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm just. I don't think I'm gonna watch. So I'll just watch Twitter afterwards and look at the results.
I'll watch, but here's the dirty secret. I've fallen asleep during Raw the past 3 weeks because it just hasn't been exciting enough to keep me going. Right.
And honestly, and then when I have to do my tops and drops for WPN, I sometimes forget what happened on Raw because it was just so crap. Like you had Raw end last week with the Miz and Maurice thing, and which, granted, okay, was a whatever segment, but at the same time, why the fuck do you end your show with that? Like, I don't know. It's just too long
because they wasted so much time on a spelling bee earlier.
Hey, spelling bee was kind of fun.
By the way, a spelling bee that was botched because Otis misspelled a word and they said it was correct.
That's valid. Yep.
So they didn't even do their spelling bee right. Anyways, but on that note, we're gonna close the book on this. Thank God it's over. Let's roll on. We've got a little bit over a month until Revolution for AEW, so we've got this next month. This is when feuds are gonna really start heating up to set the table for Revolution. Which could be what happens, right? MJF turns
versus Mox.
Yeah, Bryan versus Mox is going to be fucking phenomenal. But Wardlow turns on MJF to either help CM Punk win, or MJF gets the win over CM Punk and then proceeds to get a symphony of power bombs in the ring, setting up MJF versus Wardlow for Revolution. Either of those are probably likely going to happen.
All right.
But I got to be honest, I don't know. Have they even announced other matches for Dynamite this week?
I don't think so.
That's the only one that I know of offhand that they've announced.
Yeah, but it's also only Sunday, huh? So they still have Monday, Tuesday, Elevation, stuff happens there, whatever.
I anticipate we will get an appearance by Danhausen, maybe finally an announcement of some sort of an actual something with Danhausen.
Well, he's been killing it on social media, though.
He always kills it on social media. Let's talk about this real quick before we end, because here's what it comes in. People are all like, who the fuck? Why are they signing Wardlow? He's a mid-card guy at best. Not Wardlow. Danhausen. Why are they signing Danhausen? He's a mid-card guy at best. Here's the deal. Not every signing has to be a main eventer.
Right.
It's 100% that way. Not every Orange Cassidy might never be considered a main eventer. He might never go after the world title, right?
After that Adam Cole match, though, I don't know.
He might. I'm not saying he won't, but he doesn't have to, right?
Right.
That main event title, the world title, is not necessarily the best point for everyone. Danhausen's going to come in. He's going to fucking sell a shit ton of merch.
Right.
An absolute fuckload of merch is going to go out from Shop AEW that says Danhausen on it, has his face on it. The dude can work. He's very similar to an Orange Cassidy in this respect. He's got kind of a silly gimmick. But when the chips are down, he can fucking work. Just like Orange Cassidy, his gimmick is silly. He does the little stupid kicks and all of that stuff. But then he can go when he has to, right?
Right.
It's the same thing with Danhausen. But in the end, he was able to get a gimmick over in the modern era, sell a shit ton of merch without a major contract for most of it, right? He's going to bring eyes to the product. He's going to sell merch like it's going out of fucking style. He's going to elevate the brand, and he might never be in the main event title picture. Ever.
That's
right?
it.
And he doesn't have to be, right? He can be that guy that wanders around in the mid-card and puts people over and makes people look good and has fun and gets people's eyes on the product, right? An example that resonates right now with WWE fans is Ron Killings, right? Fucking R-Truth. R-Truth's not a main event guy right now. He was at one point, but he's not right now. But he doesn't have to be, right? His job is not to be the main event. His job is to be in this mid-card, stirring it up in the mid-card, being funny, being entertaining, selling some merch, right? Getting people to watch the show. That's it. That's fucking Danhausen, right?
Okay.
And I think it's going to open up some sponsorships for AEW, right? I think the first thing we're going to see is we're going to see some sponsorships with A and W in AEW.
Why is that?
Well, because Danhausen in the interim time between when Ring of Honor announced that they were letting people go, right? Danhausen was injured. He fucking killed it on social media, and one of the things he did, he tweeted out a picture of an application he filled out for A and W, but tweeted it tagging Tony Khan, about his job application to work at AEW, right? So A and W, AEW, right? And it just went back and forth viral. And so like he would on his YouTube show talk about, I'm still waiting to hear back from A&W about wrestling on their show. So that's very nice. Fucking A&W's all in on it. They sent him a box full of merch this week to congratulate him on his new contract. Right?
Yes.
A&W has a blimp. One of the reoccurring things that Danhausen has wanted is his own blimp over the years. So now they can have the A&W blimp fly over the stadium that AEW is going to be in that night, and it can be Danhausen's A&W blimp. I had my blimp today. It's going to be fucking gangbangers, right? And so we're going to see Danhausen this week in some way. Orange Cassidy is going to probably be there to celebrate his victory. We'll probably have Adam Cole more unhinged. It's going to be a lot of fun on Wednesday. We just have to make it there. So, anyways, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close the book here. You can head down to the doobly-doos to find all the social media links for where to follow us. Follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. You can follow me pretty much any of those places at Raw and Order WBU, except for Facebook, where you can search for @Pissant Podcast. You can follow JLB at
JLB420. Real Talk Radio, though, is the brand at Real Talk Radio 8. Anchor.fm/RTR. That's right. That was a DMD thing. I'm actually working on my website again, trying to trying to get that up and running nice and fancy. So eventually I will be also promoting that. But for now, it's just podcast stuff. And that's pretty much it. Anchor.fm/RTR.
Make sure to head down to the doobly-doos to check all the ways to support us, including the link to the Patreon, the link to our merch store, all of that stuff. I mentioned earlier, tatnusco.com. Check that out. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and close the book. Thank you all for listening. We will see you soon.
Deuces.